case. So in here, we'll just basically type in the new SQL statement with temp table as select account code length of name as size, right, from account group by account code. So this is the inner select, and then we come to the outer select where the temp table makes sense. All right, and then we commit, and we can then execute the script. Then what we do is we will do a all rows equals to cur.fetch all, right, and then print all rows, and then print a dash times just horizontal line across. Okay, so I think we are ready. Let's just run it and see. Okay, so we don't see anything, and why is that so? Account from account, group by account code, select star from temp table, execute script, execute, no, what we want is execute. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so the execute script expects, multiple statements with a semicolon behind, and that's also a good illustration here that when we do with one statement without semicolon, then we better just use execute. Okay, so right here we see the column and the length of the description, which is called name, paired together. Okay, so this star here is the test here to see actually what is actually created in temp table, and we only see two columns because temp table was constructed with only two columns. Yeah. So for example here, suppose we say choose name from temp table, thinking as if temp table has copied everything from account, right? Answer is not possible because name doesn't exist in temp table. No such column, right? And deservingly so, right? So that basically is our test here. Another test that we can run is how about size? Size definitely exists in temp table, right? So yes, it exists, and we get a bunch of integers, which is just the length of the name column. All right. So not too bad. This gives us a feel of what width behaves like. All right, with name as content of a select. All right, then we select, and when we do the outer select, temp table is in scope, is referenceable. Then we can say select something from temp table, and we can also attach the usual where conditions, etc., to filter off unessential rows that we don't want. Okay. What can we do with this? With the width, it seems like a nice feature. It seems like, however, it looks like quite a stretched example to try to make width useful. So let's go back to our class slide here. We now try to perform cross-referencing of tables using cross-join. Okay. And even so, our requirement isn't complete unless we also use a temporary table and labeling it because we need to reference it. So what we are going to do or illustrate in this example is, first of all, we aggregate the column by grouping, the same column or another column, and adding up all the salaries, right, from the sales department. So that would be one example. What we do in our example here is we are going to select from the same temp table. So we have created this temp table. Yeah, we have created this temp table. And we would like to reference it twice. So we need alias. we need to sort of call this temp table as T1, cross join with temp table as T2. You know that trick now, right? Because earlier on we had such an example, the same table named as T1 cross join with itself, but call it T2. So now we can reference the left side versus the right side to condition them differently. So you see that the idea is this. We would like to, so we have this bunch of account code with the characters derived from the length of the string from the name column, right? Let's just assume these characters represent money. Maybe they are in units of thousands. So the B bank account has 15,000, the B Capi account has 7,000, and so on. So suppose we ask this business question. We'll like to know the difference between the revenue account and the cost of goods sold account, XCOGS. So in other words, we like to do a 12 minus 4. I know you will say, well, I can just look at it and I know it's 8, right? But always remember, this is a simple illustration, 10 account codes. If you are successful, and I hope you are successful, you should be running some sort of 100 over account codes. And by that time, you want speed and scalability. Yeah, you're not going to print it out and eyeball it, which is kind of weird, right? It's kind of a very strange irony that you quickly generate a lot of printouts just to have this bottleneck of your eyes trying to find the relevant account codes. So what we want is to programmatically gain access to this R even, this revenue, and then this X COGS, and then subtract it meaningfully. Okay, so we're going to do that. In fact, we have tried this out before. We're just combining two concepts here: the with temp table, generating the temp table, then using the cross join, and as we are able to cross temp table with itself, and then specify that the left hand side temp table, which is T1, the account code must equal to revenue, REVEN. The right hand side T2 must have the account code equal to XCOGS. So once we have this, we can then change the star into T1.size, which is this. Of course, the size can always be amount or bank balance or whatever, right? So T1.size minus T2.size, and we call it diff. And that's all. And then we'll get this nice value 8 sitting there. What a long way to get this 8, isn't it? Yeah. This is because SQL was designed more like a relational database. So if you want to perform relational computations, you need to really constrain and filter rather than point at the coordinates. So that's the main difference here. Now, obviously, we could also do multiple selects. That means we basically say select the the length of the name below where the account code is revenue. Then we perform another select. Just perform another select, right? So we have two select statements, and then we have the first select statements equal to revenue, second select statement equals to X cost of goods sold, XCOGS. So we have two integers, then minus it in Python rather than in SQL. So this is to let SQL do everything, but it's quite bloated. But we could also split it with two select statements from Python and then perform the minusing in Python. And we may prefer that way. But here, this example, let's get through this to see how we can actually get SQL to do everything. All right. Okay, so let's create a new script. And we copy from our the script just being done before, where we have the with temp table, right? So this is nicely done. Let me just format it a little bit. So this is already nicely done, and this is our first green block.